Thank you, Sticker Mule. Thank you, Sticker Mule.
Sticker Mule is the best.
It is the best.
If you're looking for stickers, magnets, whatever, coasters.
I know. Use code XZ47. That's your code for the 10%. You get the $10 back.
That's the affiliate marketing code there.
Yeah.
That's sneaking in there.
Man. I love it. Hello, creators. Hello, Texans.
Yeah. Hello, Comicpalooza.
Yeah. Hello, Comicpalooza. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back.
Woohoo!
Seriously, welcome back.
Yeah. Let's go.
We definitely want to start off by saying thank you, Comicpalooza, for having us. Actually, our fourth is trying to get over here. He actually runs the podcast group with Comicpalooza. It's Kerry Gordon. He is amazing. He's doing great behind-the-scenes work. Erica back here behind us, she is part of the podcast program as well. If you don't know her, get to know her for sure. She's great. And, of course, whenever Kerry gets here, if he's able to actually make it, definitely get his contact information and talk to him if you have any podcast. Who here has a podcast? Okay, we have a couple.
Awesome.
Who here is wanting to start a podcast?
Awesome.
There we go.
Awesome. Okay, who here listens to podcasts?
There we go.
Everybody.
All hands up.
Awesome.
All hands up.
There we go.
Great. So we are Houston Indie Podcast Society, and this is Ozil. You saw Ozil whenever he was doing Pod Houston, the panel before us. Obviously, everybody's going to know Ming Chen.
Thank you.
So we are...
Thank you.
You got a fan, Ming.
Applause, right?
I'm
That's
here
right.
every year.
He's a man.
Because I love Houston. I love Comicpalooza. Love you.
So we do something a little bit different. We are also a podcast community here in Houston. Pod Houston is obviously a great place to get educational information and network, but we do stuff a little bit different. We actually do a little bit of networking, but we try to have fun. We try to introduce people to other shows and other podcasters and try to get you all connected with not just podcasters, but also fans. So we're, community-based. We're just trying to get everybody in the right mindset and find the right outlets that they're looking for, whatever it may be. Whether you're just looking for fans, you're looking for friends, you're looking for co-hosts, you're looking for whatever. We're trying to build the community so that you have that outlet.
Yeah, I'm looking for fun, man.
Ming's always looking for fun.
I do this for fun. And I try to tell her, if you're doing this, do it for fun. First and foremost, where else can you argue about adamantium and Batman and flux capacitors and turn it into a show and then have it distributed out to the world? There's no other. To me, this is the one true format where you can do pretty much whatever you want. There are no rules.
There are no rules.
I don't like rules. I hate rules. And
then you're in the right format, man.
Yeah.
And it's safe to say that podcasting disrupted radio, and the fact that podcasting gave everybody the liberty to be able to share what they wanted to share, to talk about their favorite TV show, to talk about their favorite hobby, and do it in a micro niche way to where you're like, hey, people like me listen to this, and this is our community. So I think podcasting, we can agree that it builds community and really niche communities, which has been pretty amazing. One of the biggest benefits that we've gotten from podcasters, right?
Yeah, most definitely. I think you hit on a very important topic in the sense of it's a very low threshold of entry.
That's right.
Anybody can do it. You don't have to be a professional AV person. I know that we do have those here. Shout out to Christopher Jordan back there in the back. He's helped out immensely in a bunch of different areas. I personally started out with zero knowledge on the audio end, so it's been literally I've had to teach myself everything, and I rely on some people that I do know that has helped me out in the long run, but a lot of it has been self-taught. So if you're looking at starting a podcast, I know some of you said that you are, and you don't have that knowledge, it's easy to come by, especially if you join the right communities. Like I said, Pod Houston is a great one to join. They do a lot of great informational stuff. we do some educational stuff. We talk to other podcasters, and we talk specifically about podcasting and how they got started and the troubles that they've seen whenever they've been doing it, and also what the future of podcasting is, because I think we're going to see some drastic changes because podcasting is still in its infancy, which is crazy to say because it's been around for over a decade.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's still so new, and people are still coming in and creating new ideas and new ways to expose the information that they want to. So it's just really interesting. It's a fun concept of, hey, just think of something, go out and do it, see if it works. If it doesn't work, tweak it a little bit, and it will work.
Yeah, I think the moment I realized this is awesome was like, well, if you can talk, you have a voice, you can podcast. So, like, I always wanted to start a band or something, or, I was like, hey, man, I want to be like Van Halen or like Led Zeppelin. I was like, and then I tried playing the guitar. I was like, I stink at this. Like, and at my advanced age, I'm like, I'm probably not going to be starting a band anytime soon. So I feel like podcast. I feel like a rock star sometimes, man. I was like, I can talk.
Well, you are a rock star.
Well, I mean, I got lucky. I got Kevin Smith, who I hang off his Silent Bob coattails. I have that to.
It's a good coattail to hang off of.
I have that to bank on. But I'm very lucky that he was one of the pioneers of this format, though. So I'm very lucky that I had him to ask for advice, to look up to him. I was lucky that I have the luxury I could text him, be like, hey, man, how did you do that? Or how would you do this? But he's been very encouraging in this format where, he's recorded episodes and he's like, dude, just do it. I do it. You should do it. And this is awesome. And he's just been very encouraging with all this. So I have good mentors. He's one that everyone can look up to, even though, he talks a lot. Which is good for podcasting. If you don't talk, there's no podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah, and a lot of his podcasts are very, very weed influenced and weed filled. But it's like, hey, if you want to smoke and then podcast, you can, or not. So
yeah. Like you said earlier, no rules at all. So you can literally do whatever you want. And I think that's what attracts most people is, hey, I can go and talk about this TV show that I like, and if people are going to listen, they're going to listen. If not, then it's not that big of a deal because I'm enjoying what I'm talking about. And I think that's the main takeaway is enjoy what you're talking about.
And if it sparks an argument amongst you and your friends, that makes for a great episode.
It really does.
I love arguing with my friends. If you argue with your friends, might as well record it and release it out to the world.
Right.
And, a lot of what I do, it was influenced by those like late night bar conversations. We would have like, oh man, why aren't we recording this? This is awesome. This is funny. Meanwhile, it probably wasn't that awesome or funny because we were drinking. But hey, one way or the other, someone might listen to it and offer their opinion. So a lot of that was influenced by that.
Yeah. So I guess let's go ahead and talk about building community a bit. Ozil, you have built Pod Houston. You did it before we were doing HIPS. We kind of not rode your coattails with HIPS, but I did come to you and was like, hey, we're trying to do this thing. And I think one of the things that I want to bring up real quick is Houston Indie Podcast Society and Pod Houston work really well together, I think. Ozil, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think we do really work well together because you're the educational side of it and the community-based, and we're, again, a community-based, but a more fun side to it where we're not focusing on teaching everybody everything. So I think that if you join those two communities here in Houston, I think it's a great place to get what you need. But let's talk about building community a little bit. Like, how did you really start building the community for Pod Houston?
So it started about 4 years ago when I've been podcasting for a little over 7 years, and I was searching. I was like, where are the podcasters here in Houston? There's a great blogging community. There was I saw some YouTube meetups going on, but I'm like, where are the podcasters at? Where are we hanging out at? So I didn't see a community of podcasters, so I decided to go on meetup.com, and I called it Beginner Podcast because I wanted to be for beginner people that were trying to get into podcasting, right? So we did at a Cafe Brazil, we did a meetup. I don't know if you guys ever been there. here in the Montrose area. I did a meetup, and we had a turnout of 20 podcasters. And they came up to me. They were like, hey, listen, we're so happy that there's a community and there's a meetup where we can do this. When's the next one? And from there, I started organizing it. At first, it was going to be like a one-off. I just wasn't sure what the community was going to be like. And then it was a great turnout, so I continued putting together these meetups. And it was like 20, and then 30, and then 40, and it just got massive. And that's where Pod Houston kind of grew after the second meetup. We're like, let's call this Pod Houston because we want this to be a representation of independent Houston podcasters, and let's create this space where we can collaborate, we can support each other, and basically grow as a Houston podcasting community. So that's pretty much the beginnings of Pod Houston, man. It's been growing. Now we have about 1,500 members. And then we're going to get back to doing in-person events. Hopefully we can start collaborating on some live events and getting back to this, because I believe this right here, this is what it's about.
Yeah.
From the microphone to the in-person. I know what I love about Ming is that he does a lot of live streaming. He does a lot of in-person stuff, and I believe that if we can do that and start creating podcasting and stepping away from the microphone and outside of the studio and bringing this as far as like a live audience, this is amazing. And I believe this is going to be the future of podcasters moving forward for all podcasters.
Yeah, I think community is a big part of podcasting itself. You can't be by yourself doing your own thing,
right,
and expect to have that support that you might need whenever you're just one person. If you have several people that have the marketing capabilities, have the audio capabilities, you're probably going to be fine. But if you don't already have that background or know people who have that background, it's really important to join a community. And I think Houston is, obviously it's the fourth largest city in the country. So it's a great place to go and meet other people who are doing the same thing that you are in a different way that might be able to give you a different perspective in how your show can succeed and bring it to where you want it to be.
That's right.
There's no real definition of success in podcasting. Success is kind of what you make of it. So go out and find what you want. Find what you think you can achieve. And if you go past that, amazing. And chances are, if you're loving what you're doing, you're going to go past what you think your capabilities are.
Yeah, I think, I always think about it's like the Avengers. Like Iron Man's cool, but you team him up with Cap and Thor and the Hulk, it's even better. So, right. So it's always the analogy. And I love that you took the initiative to be like, hey, man, I just want to meet other podcasters. There doesn't appear to be any other, no one's kind of brought everyone together. So I've always gone by the philosophy, like if there's something that you want to see happen and it doesn't exist, create it, and
make it happen.
Yeah, and that was part of the reason we built the Shared Universe podcast studio in New Jersey. Was that I just wanted to meet other podcasters, and I think at the time I knew of maybe one or two other podcasts in the area, and I was like, there's got to be other people here, and slowly we started meeting them, or we just brought together the new people that we helped start shows, and I think the biggest joy in my life is when I see two shows like, oh man, you do a paranormal podcast, I love ghosts. Why don't you come on our weed podcast, right. and we'll cross over and we'll be on each other's shows, and that makes me so happy when people collaborate like that. Yeah. So I was like, wait, you did the weed paranormal crossover podcast? It's like I'm definitely listening to that.
And those are sometimes the best episodes of certain podcasts when you have a crossover like that.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, that's really fun. One thing that I do want to mention is in Houston, we are seeing a few different studios popping up from time to time. But Ming, you've thought about opening one up for Shared Universe.
I want to do it so bad. Just so we about 4 years ago, we decided, it was like, hey, why don't we open up a recording studio just for podcasting? It's like like I said, I don't know anything about music. I don't want to cut tracks. I want to help people record podcasts. I think the main thing was, we were having so much fun doing it. I was like, can we show other people how much fun this is? Surely there are other people who want to do what we do and, argue about bad movies or argue about good movies and talk about pop culture, talk about whatever they're passionate about. Yeah. And so we just got off our butts one day. We're like, let's rent some really cheap office space. We have all the gear already, and let's just put it out there that we're open for rental. And our thinking was, listen, even if nobody uses it, then at least we would have a space to podcast in that we could at least record our own show. And yeah, but slowly but surely, like our friends would come, and then friends of friends would use the space, and then one day we're like, oh man, somebody booked it. We're like, we don't know. I was like, do you know these people? I was like, we don't. I'm like, I don't know these people. These are like total strangers that came out. I was like, holy crap, this is awesome. And you're like, oh man, we got to take this seriously, and we got to. And they came. They had such a great time. They're like, oh, can we come back next week? I'm like, absolutely. And I think that's the moment. It's like, this might work. And we've grown it into, a viable, not only a viable business, but it's just fun. Like, it's something. I love waking up and I look at the schedule and there are 5 shows coming in, and one of them's doing like maybe their 50th episode, and and then we got the high school kid doing his sports podcast, and he was a shy kid when he started, and now he sounds like a broadcaster, and just all these things, just seeing people grow and just having fun. And I love it. And yeah, I'm like, well, now I want these everywhere. But, if I'm going to do it, you start in the cities that you love most, right? So Houston, definitely.
Yeah. Let's pause real quick. It's not too often that your podcast panel is interrupted by R2D2 here. So, like, R2D2 in the house. There you go. Hey, buddy, what's going on? Look at that. See? How awesome is that?
Little did you guys know, we planned this out in advance.
This is part of the panel, guys.
Yeah.
Hey, guy, what's going on, buddy?
Yeah. Only
How you doing?
Comicpalooza, right?
That's right.
Thank you for that insightful input.
Thank you, R2.
It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you, R2.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Can we give it up for R2D2, by the way, for coming into our panel? Come give it up for... That's awesome. See that?
So one of the things that I want to say is that by opening a shared universe, you're inevitably creating community. And I think that's what it all goes back to, is creating community.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was sort of intentional, but yeah, I never would have thought, like, and the weed podcast and the paranoia, that's a real thing that really happened. So I never thought that they would have anything in common, but they did. And yeah, that made me really happy. And yeah, it's just the bringing together of people. It's like throwing a really cool party and having everybody meet each other, and then they're friends at the end.
Right.
It's so great.
Everybody's got everybody's number. They're all best friends from that point on. I think one of the things that we definitely want to talk about is kind of future of podcasting and where we see it might be going. There's obviously so many different directions that this forum can take. One of the things that we're seeing now is live streaming. A lot of people are continuing taking their podcast, putting it on YouTube, Twitch streams, whatever it may be. But I think it still has a little bit more development to go. I personally use a website called StreamYard. That's what we use for HIPs. And StreamYard is...
It's been a godsend.
Yeah, it's very easy to use. If that's something that you're looking for, is ease of use. I know that some people use OBS for doing stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one too. But yeah, OBS is very good if you know what you're doing, or if you can learn pretty quickly on how to do it. But OBS is very powerful. It's very customizable. A lot of Twitch streamers use it. And yeah, so I don't know. What are you using?
StreamYard is how kind of got started.
The StreamYard. I mean, Ming, what about you? What do you
yeah, for sure. It's I mean, the ease of use and the user interface is bar none, like unmatched. Plus, bringing in other people from other parts of the globe is like you literally send a link and they click on it, and you can use your phone or your laptop, and like they're with you, and it just works. Yep. It just works. It's almost like Apple developed it or something, but it wasn't. It was developed by these 2 kids in Canada, which is insane. They look like they're like 14.
Yeah, they're pretty young.
Yeah. But it changed everything. I discovered it right at the beginning of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. I actually saw Dante from Clerks, Brian O'Halloran. He was on a live stream, and I was watching it, and I saw they're able to pull comments like right on the screen, and they're running videos and overlaying graphics. I'm like, dude, what is that? He's like, it's something called StreamYard. You should check it out. And I did it. It changed. Not only did it change everything, it kept me sane during the pandemic. because I just used it to just talk to people because I was stuck at home, and I didn't want to be by myself. So yeah, it was awesome. But it changed our business model because previously we would have to have everyone come down to our studio to podcast in person. I'm like, well, now you guys don't even have to be here if you don't want to drive down. We'll get you all online to do it. And the experience with it being virtual was, it's not in person. It's very close, though. Like the interaction, like nothing was lost by talking to a screen. I think my main concern with something like, doing Zooms or StreamYards or these streaming services, I was like, all right, can you make fun of your co-host across a computer screen? And we realized within 3 seconds, yes, you absolutely can. This is going to work. Yeah, it was awesome.
The dynamic between co-hosts, it might take a couple people a little bit of time to get used to the digital, but there is obviously a way that you can set up multi-cameras and you can have it all live and do a StreamYard. There's StreamYard Restream, Twitch with OBS, and there's a lot of different outlets there. I'm sure I'm probably missing several. So if StreamYard is not your jam, if you look into it and you're like, oh, well, that's not for me, I want to try something else, most definitely. There's a lot of information out there that you can find. So I think that probably what we're going to see is a lot more restreaming and probably more connectivity between like a YouTube channel along with podcasting. But it has to be on both. I mean, you have to have both. I've been kind of slacking for Hips, and we're not on the actual podcast streams yet.
Okay.
But there was a little bit of confusion with our audio file, so I have to go back through our YouTube channel and pull those off and actually get those up. But those should be up and running hopefully sometime soon. So. But the great thing about StreamYard is that everything is recorded within the database with StreamYard. So you go through, you create a live stream, you create a record-only stream where it's just you and there's no audience. And for 2 weeks, you have those audio files. You can go back and you can download them. And if something happens and you accidentally delete the audio file for somebody, you can go back for 2 weeks. I think it's technically 15 days.
Yeah, they archive it. And
yeah,
grab
they archive it. And,
yeah.
Yep, you can just grab it again. So that's really awesome. You can download video content or just audio content. So whatever you might need. If you need everything to be downloaded as video, and then that way you can go and edit it and then put it on YouTube, you can do that. So they make it really easy.
It's funny. Never did I, we like a while ago we started videoing our podcast. And I'm like, who's going to watch like two dudes arguing about, about midichlorians? But I was like, wow, people, it's watchable. But then with StreamYard, you can upload and play your own video content and overlay graphics and interact with your audience if you're streaming live. I'm like, well, this changes everything. This makes it way more interesting. But yeah, at first I was like, who's going to watch a couple of like dorks, like just sitting there talking to microphones? But with Zoom and everything, it's oddly entertaining in a way.
It is, yeah. There are some people out there who just don't necessarily like the talking head YouTube channels.
Yeah.
So, and that's one of the reasons why I think you're going to start seeing more multi-camera angles for live streaming. Just to kind of keep it fresh, keep it going. I'm looking into certain ways to do it myself for Hips in our live streams. But yeah, I think that's probably the nearest future is what you're going to see. You're going to start seeing people have multiple angles, at least more people, because there are people out there who are doing it, and their content is so much better than the people like ours. I mean, I think we have really good content, but I think if we added the multi-angle dimension, I think it would be a lot better.
Well, you'll be able to see more of the toys in our background.
Right.
Everyone our background looks like a toy, like a comic book blew up in the background. background, but that's just us, man.
I love both of your locations.
Thank you.
You have the comic shop, and then you have another one, Bellworks, right?
Bellworks, yeah. It's like a high tech, like a tech building, and that one's a little more low key, but the other one's got, if you look, it's like, is that a pulse rifle from Aliens behind you? I'm like, yeah, it is. I love James Cameron's Aliens, so this is all the stuff that defined me are behind me. So that's my idea of a podcast studio, is just like you're walking into a comic book. So
yeah, that's kind of the idea for a lot of us who enjoy that. I enjoy the movies, I enjoy comics, I enjoy games. Board games are a big one for me, so I have a lot of stuff that's related to board games and movies, pop culture. So
and then not that long ago we started live streaming from Kevin Smith's the Jan Silent Bob's Secret Stash. I'm like, wait a minute, this looks pretty cool. We should live stream from here, from the store, and we did, and I'm pretty happy about how that looks too. So,
so what about you?
Another resource is squadcast.fm, which is another live streaming for podcasters that want to get into video. So that's another great one, which allows you, the difference between live Squadcast and StreamYard is that Squadcast gives you the ability to go in and do a lot of the audio production to get all the levels, which is a great benefit to have, especially with live streaming. As we know, we kind of don't have control of making sure all the levels are balanced. So Squadcast.fm, and StreamYard, I think, I agree with both of you. I think live streaming, podcasting is important. One of the things that I discovered coming from audio only, a podcast traditionally, and going into live streaming is that there's with audio, you got to be an active listener and really understand what's going on. There's the art of the pause and really how to conduct a proper interview. With visual, with a live stream, it's easier to pick up on the cues and really see what your guest is acting or what they're about to say, if they're about to interrupt. So it's probably easier to conduct interviews with video versus audio only, because audio you see a lot of interruptions. You know how it is.
But the video you can kind of tell visually when someone's going to stop talking.
So that's a big benefit.
It's huge. It's huge.
So I think more podcasters will be using a lot more live streaming and more video moving forward. It's the future.
Yeah, most definitely. So whenever we're talking about communities and building communities, you have your sessions that you set up with Pod Houston where you kind of go in, you sometimes have a speaker come in. Hey, everybody, this is Kerry
Gordon, everybody.
Kerry Gordon in the house.
We are not here without Kerry Gordon, ladies and gentlemen. We are not here without him.
You good, brother? What's going on, man? How are you?
So I guess, Kerry, this is a really good time to bring in, because I know you... Yeah.
Can you guys hear me? Yeah. All right. Nope.
Some audio issues. Hold on. Sorry about that.
What else is new?
That's the man.
So, Kerry, I can just pass this over to you once.
You got it.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's talk about kind of building community for Comicpalooza itself.
Sure.
And how you went about finding different podcasts and how you invited them over into the podcast family of Comicpalooza.
Yeah. Here's the impetus of the podcast program here. I think it was 2014, 2015. It was Ming's first year here. It was like 5 or 6 in the morning. It was this guy right here interviewing Ming. And I was like, wait a minute, this could actually be something. I put something together, brought it to the people in charge, and I was like, hey, what do you guys think about doing a podcast program? It was, at the time, the first one in the country, really, any show that I could think of doing one. And it got greenlit, and we just went from there. It started off small, then it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. We have some grand plans, that's all I can say.
Yeah? Okay, yeah. I love grand plans.
Be ready for 2022, is what you're saying.
2022, exactly.
Yeah, I remember, I think that year you're like, hey, we're doing a podcasting, like an intro to podcasting panel. Well, you and Mike Sapsik was with me. He was like, will you and Mike come? I'm like, oh, yeah, cool. I thought it was going to be like 4 people, and there was like 12 of us. I was like, holy crap, this is awesome.
It was a packed room. I didn't think you were going to show up, really, but...
we were like, dude, we got to go. This is awesome. Because at the time, we didn't know any other podcasts except for Kevin and, the guy, just us. We just knew of us, so... It was like discovering like a whole new tribe or something.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, this is cool.
there's a really great community of podcasters here in Houston, starting from back in the day, and then new people like what Ozil's doing here and what Hips is trying to do, and everybody else. I know there's a lot of podcasters I see here are doing a great job on everything, and it's really a big community. I never think there's competition in podcasting because everybody has their own niche. Like our show, we talk about heavy metal and nerdy stuff, geeky stuff. Not every show is going to do that, you know? So
that's a great combination. I mean, it always has been, but
that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome.
So I think that for Hips specifically, we're going through phases. We're a startup community that just started up not long ago, but we actually were fortunate enough to bring in Coral Sword as our official hangout. So if you haven't been to Coral Sword yet, go to Coral Sword. It's an amazing place. 1318 Telephone Road.
Yeah, right here in Houston.
You can get drinks, play some games, meet some people who are like-minded. They have a podcast booth there, which we actually got to have our first live meetup. We were supposed to start in 2020 in March, and the week before...
Did something happen?
Yeah, something happened. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but something happened that delayed us for a year. So we were fortunate enough to get with Coral Sword, and they were still interested in having us out there. And so it was an amazing time. We're going to try to start doing those monthly events. What we did on Thursday, we actually sat down, we played some Jackbox. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Jackbox, but it's a great game to sit down and play with some friends and make some new ones. So that's kind of the stuff that we're planning on doing. There is a phase 3 where we can try to get some live podcasts to come in and do some stuff and network after they're done. But it's small steps. I think that's one of the things that you have to set for yourself is small, achievable goals in building whatever you're trying to build, whether it's your own personal brand, a community, your podcast, whatever it is. Small, achievable goals goes a long way.
Small goals, but grand plans.
Small goals, grand plans. That's a great way to put it. Yeah, for sure. Carrie, since you weren't here just a moment ago, whenever we were talking about it, what do you think is the future of podcasting?
Definitely video streaming. The one thing that happened this past year is the ability for anybody to live stream easily. We use a program called StreamYard, which if you know how to click a few buttons, you know how to live stream. It's really simple. It's a lot of fun. We do it sometimes with our live show. It's just it's going to be the future, I think. It really is. Everybody needs to get their hair done and everything good before they go live.
Yeah, we talked at great length about how great it was. I'm like, we're not even getting a check from them. We just love it that much. StreamYard, which is great.
Look, I'm all about a sponsorship from StreamYard, but I'm going to use it no matter what. So
would you get a StreamYard tattoo?
I wouldn't do it. No, I would not do that unless they would have to pay me for
draw
that.
The line there. Right?
Yeah, I'll draw the line there. There's a lot of things I'll get a tattoo of, and that's just not one. Advertising is not one of those things I'll do for a tattoo. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest things. Like, just live streaming is I mean, you've heard from all four of us. We all agree that live streaming is probably the closest future that we have for podcasting. Do you think there's anything that might be there besides live streaming?
We're living in a weird place with podcasts right now because we've talked about this before. They're so celebrity heavy right now, and there's so many companies putting a lot of money behind that type of stuff, which is good because it's only going to mean that the term podcasting gets bigger. People know, I know this celebrity who's doing a show. We have celebrities here at Comicpalooza actually have podcasts.
Yeah, huge podcasts.
Yeah. Ming's one of them right there.
Yeah, but I'm no Michael Rosenbaum, man. That guy's got he's great. He's got a great show.
Gotcha. Like Mark Paul Gosselaar is here.
Yeah, Zach to the Future.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's anything that celebrities can do. to bring more notoriety to what a podcast is good for everybody.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Does anybody think that there might be a cutoff to where the celebrities come in, start doing podcasts, and then maybe we see them trickle off? Or do you think that celebrities are here and they're here to stay?
I think they're here to stay. One of the new trends that I'm seeing are scripted podcasts with celebrities in them. So they're like back in the day, they used to do radio dramas.
Right.
That's what they're doing now, just podcast. It's easy to digest, easy for people to get. You don't have to do anything special, but just download it, and then you're good to go.
Yeah, audio dramas are great. Mm-hmm. There are several that I can definitely recommend. Okay, so we're getting the wrap-up signal from our good friend Chris Jordan over there. So we're going to go ahead and start wrapping it up. Does anybody have any questions for us before we're done?
On?
Yes.
Okay, so the question was, do we have any suggestions for people who are trying to start their own podcast?
Yes.
We have several, yes, for sure.
We have one. Just do it. Literally, just if you have something to say, you have something that you love, somebody out there is going to have that love too, and they're going to hear you talk about it.
Yeah, and if you ask for advice from other podcasters, we'll give you everything. We'll tell you what, where to upload, how to upload it, what gear to get. And there's gear for every budget. There's gear for no budget to what every budget. Artwork, whatever. We're dying to help you out. We're at the ready to help you guys out.
Most definitely.
And I think answering the question, who is this podcast for, is an important question for you to ask yourself. I think a lot of podcasters jump into it, especially if you want to build an audience. I think it's important to be able to be mindful of the audience you're trying to build and the community you're trying to build. So you got to be very, very conscious about who is this podcast for and how can I serve them. It's not about us. Ultimately, yes, we can press the mic and have fun and talk about it. That's great. There's a lot for that. But I believe that if you want to build a community, you got to ask that question and make it about them, not about you. I think it's important for community.
And don't get discouraged if you put a show out there and it doesn't hit right away.
Right.
Keep on doing it. If you love doing it, people are going to finally catch on. You're going to build an audience. You're going to build a community. Don't look at the numbers right away. You know what I mean? That's my advice.
That's right.
Yeah, don't look at the numbers at all, honestly.
For the first year, just do not look at your hosting. So yeah,
because sometimes it'll surprise you and you'll have a lot of numbers, but sometimes you'll just say, "Who am I really doing this for?" and it'll discourage you. So just don't look at the numbers.
And use those metrics too. If you do look at the numbers, to know what to do in the future, know what people are looking at or what they're wanting to hear.
Right.
So it does help, but don't let it discourage you either.
Right. I guess my advice would be don't be afraid to teach yourself, but also, again, find the community where you can learn from others. Yeah. Like Ming said, we're all here to help each other out. If you find the right people, then you're going to go a long way, I promise.
Yeah.
Because they'll help you get in the right spot. Even if they don't come out and help you physically set up your board and set up your mics in the right volume, they'll at least be able to tell you, hey, visit this website. They probably have the information you're looking for. So there's a lot of really good information out there for you.
And one of the best things about podcasts is you will make lifelong friends. You really will. I met all these guys through podcasting, so...
Yeah, I like these guys.
A good friend of mine out here. I mean, exactly. That's the best thing about podcasting to me is finding people that are like-minded and becoming friends with people.
Yeah. So I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up there. That's a good stopping point. So if you're interested in joining a community, whether it be Pod Houston or HIPS, Houston Indie Podcast Society, or maybe you want to join both because, like I said, we go hand in hand. Come up, talk to us. Ozil will give you his information. I'll definitely give you my information. Ming, I'm sure, will share his information.
1,000%.
And also get the Comicpalooza information from Kerry. He's the guy who runs the podcast program here. So we're grateful to have Ozil with us.
Thank you.
It's me, Kerry, and Ming. We are Houston Indie Podcast Society. We are HIPS. So, we are very appreciative for, first off, Comicpalooza, second off, Coral Sword, and most importantly, you guys. Thank you all for showing up and having a good time with us.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, man.